Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're going to try and sort of radically rethink the role of the artist. We're moving past just, the isolated genius making pretty pictures and looking at them instead as, well, as documentarians, accidental historians maybe, storytellers, witnesses of their time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the core question we're really unpacking is how art can be this incredibly accurate mirror to society, how it translates all that messy, emotional human stuff into forms that, somehow speak across generations and borders.
And look, for you, the learner, thinking about it this way it's really powerful because traditional history, the stuff in textbooks or carved on monuments, that's often, let's say, a carefully constructed account. Sometimes it's a bit sanitized. Art kind of bypasses those filters. It grabs the raw, immediate mood, the struggles, the wins, the actual soul, the zeitgeist of an era.
The spirit of the age, right?
Exactly. It gives us these really crucial emotional insights that, frankly, formal documents just can't quite capture.
Okay, yeah, let's dig into that. This idea that art preserves history that maybe textbooks kind of gloss over. When you look at an old painting, it's easy to forget it wasn't history then, right? It was just what was happening.
It's the difference between, say, a formal archive and a personal record, but one made with intention. And the sources give us a really compelling historical example of this. Bill Traylor.
Bill Traylor, okay.
His life story itself is just incredible history. He was born into slavery in Alabama, self-taught as an artist.
Wow.
And he only started drawing much later in life, probably in his 80s,
Yeah.
after he moved to Montgomery.
That context is just, it's vital, isn't it? He's coming from a group whose individual stories, like you said, often get flattened in the big historical narrative.
Totally flattened. We focus on movements or economics, not the texture of just living day to day.
Right.
So by the 1930s, Traylor was creating hundreds and hundreds of drawings on scraps of cardboard he found. Minimal materials.
Just what was available.
Exactly. And his simple but really evocative work, it preserves this intimate, essential chapter of American history. He documented the social shifts in the Jim Crow South, scenes of work, migration, home life, gatherings.
Interactions between black and white Southerners, too.
Yes, absolutely. Those interactions are key. His art is this real document of just observation and persistence. It gives us a view of post-slavery Southern life that isn't filtered through institutions.
You see the body language, the specific kinds of jobs, the tension, the resilience, things that formal history rarely gets down to with that level of intimacy. It's an accidental archive, but a really significant one.
It really is. And it just shows that this role of artist as historian is fundamental. It doesn't matter about formal training or, getting famous during your lifetime.
And we see that same historical role playing out today, right? But obviously with wildly different tools.
Oh, yeah.
Contemporary artists are doing the same kind of work, responding immediately to social movements, political chaos, the environmental stuff, the crazy pace of cultural change.
All of it.
But using paint, sure, but also sculpture, performance, and increasingly digital media.
And the output, whatever form it takes, it documents the current zeitgeist almost in real time. It encodes the hopes, the anxieties, the aspirations of right now globally.
So every brushstroke, every pixel, every carving is like a little testament to the unique challenges and feelings of this specific moment we're living in.
Exactly. It's immediate.
So let's take that concept and really ground it in a modern example from our sources. Let's talk about Hilarion Dinga's Art is Life project.
Ah, yes. This is fascinating.
This is basically someone dedicating themselves to documenting their time, but using very 21st century tools.
The commitment level is really what stands out here. The artist set this strict rule: dedicate 10 minutes every single day to painting.
10 minutes.
And not just painting, streaming the whole process live.
Wow.
And then sharing the finished piece as an NFT. So the act of creation itself becomes this immediate, documented, a creative log.
That's like a marathon of documentation, isn't it? The project started aiming for 365 pieces, a full year.
Right.
But the sources say Dinga's aiming now for day 1,000. That's creating this ongoing daily visual diary. It's not just single artworks anymore. It's a continuous record of existing in this decade.
And the motivation is really key here for understanding this artist as historian idea. The aim isn't just self-expression. It's explicitly to record personal feelings, sure, but also to capture the, quote, broader pulse of the world.
Okay.
So the daily art process itself becomes this active, real-time documentation, capturing the feeling of living through the 2020s.
Which means each piece becomes, like the source says, a verifiable time capsule of feeling.
Exactly.
Capturing those super fleeting emotional currents. You know how you feel reacting to the news or a personal thing or just the collective mood. Like, how did we feel on that specific Tuesday back in October 2023? You can look at the art made that day and get a sense.
And we have a perfect, really visceral example of this, reflecting a huge global moment. There's an article mentioned, the DAP Day 55, exploring the power of art as a reflection of life.
Day 55.
Focused specifically on Day 55 of the project.
And that day was February 24th, 2022. The piece was created in direct, immediate response to the full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
Right. Not weeks later. Not even days later.
It wasn't a delayed reflection. It was art created as that tragedy was unfolding, cementing that initial shock right into the work.
Absolutely. And the artist talks about using a very deliberate set of colors, red, yellow, green, chosen specifically to try and convey the importance of seeking peace amidst all that chaos and fear.
So it's abstract work, but it bypasses trying to depict the event literally.
Exactly. It becomes a direct window into the artist's emotional state, serving as an emotional witness to that specific traumatic moment in time.
It's kind of jarring how fast that record was made, almost simultaneous with the event itself. But I have to ask, does that hyper-immediacy, that rawness, does it risk being just visceral? Maybe less reflective or meaningful than traditional historical art that often takes months or years to create?
That's a really important question. But I'd argue that its immediacy is precisely its historical value.
Yeah.
You know?
How so?
Well, traditional art, like a big state portrait or a battle scene painted later, gives you the reflected narrative.
Yeah.
Often the official one, or at least a considered one.
Okay.
Dinga's approach gives you the raw data, the unedited, untempered emotional truth of the moment it happened. And future historians, they might actually glean more insight from that unfiltered reaction than from a polished reflection made 6 months down the line.
That's a really interesting point, the raw data versus the process narrative.
Yeah.
And the project also shows this blend of methods, doesn't it? The artwork is immediately minted and verified as an NFT.
Right, the digital side.
But the sources also say that the original Day 55 painting is a physical thing the artist treasures and hopes to exhibit one day.
Exactly. It's a hybrid archives. A foot in the digital world, a foot in the physical. Which is very 2020s too, isn't it?
It really is.
And this kind of leads us to the bigger picture, the more interactive role of the artist, especially now in the digital age. Artists don't just passively record things. They provoke, they question, they inspire. Their work opens up these really necessary conversations about society, about the human condition, challenging you, the viewer, to maybe see the world through a different lens.
And the Art is Life project uses technology to build that dialogue right into the making process with the live stream.
Yeah, that live stream component is crucial.
When the artist creates and streams, people anywhere in the world can watch it happen in real time.
And that creates this shared experience, right?
Yeah.
Viewers aren't just passive consumers of a finished thing. They're witnessing history being documented moment by moment.
And the comments, the reactions from people watching globally, that becomes another layer, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It turns that single artwork into this kind of communal, almost crowdsourced reflection of the mood of that day, that moment.
Okay, so I've got the artwork documenting time and the process itself creating dialogue. But then there's the underlying tech NFTs, the blockchain, that seems to be fundamentally changing how this documentation is preserved. So what does this all mean? How are NFTs making this kind of contemporary documentation more historically solid?
Right. Well, this is where it gets really interesting from a preservation standpoint. NFTs essentially provide this missing link for digital historical proof. Immutable verification.
Immutable, meaning it can't be changed.
Exactly. When a piece of digital art is minted as an NFT, it gets recorded on a blockchain.
Yeah.
You can think of the blockchain as this incredibly secure, distributed digital ledger, like a public notary that no single person or entity controls or can secretly alter.
So it's not just like a timestamp on a computer file that someone could potentially fake later.
Precisely. That's the weakness of traditional digital files. Metadata can be manipulated. But the blockchain record, when that NFT is minted, it gets a permanent, publicly verifiable timestamp, date, time, locked in, immutable.
Okay, that feels like a potential game changer for future historians.
It really is. It means that Dinga's Day 55 painting or any other digital artwork created and minted this way It's preserved not just as an image, but as a verifiable moment in time.
So someone researching this era, say 100 years from now, can look back and confirm with absolute certainty this specific artistic reaction existed on February 24th, 2022.
That's the power. The digital era, when secured by something like blockchain, allows contemporary artists to mark their time digitally with unprecedented accuracy. They're creating these verified, collectible digital artifacts that preserve the emotional content and provide this permanent, unchallengeable record of personal and cultural history.
Wow. So this tech shift, it isn't about replacing the old ways, like bill trailers, cardboard scraps.
No, not replacing.
It's radically expanding them. Artists today are essentially creating a global archive for the future, built pixel by pixel, secured by this digital ledger.
It's a remarkable evolution in how we document history, how we document being human. Every brushstroke, every pixel, every streamed moment becomes this potentially permanent, verifiable testament. It's an invitation for future generations to feel, reflect, and remember the mood and meaning of right now.
So if we boil this whole deep dive down, art is way more than just personal expression.
It's much more.
It's a historical document. It's a mirror reflecting humanity back at itself. And it's kind of a beacon guiding future generations to understand our complexities.
And the tools we have now just mean that the creation of this historical archive is faster, more immediate, and crucially, more verifiable than it's ever been before.
Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener. Considering that artists are embracing technology like the blockchain to create this permanent time-stamped record of today's mood, today's meaning. Well, it makes you think, doesn't it? If pretty much every photo you take, every post you make, every little sketch or digital creation is now, thanks to technology, potentially a permanent and verifiable timestamp in the historical record. What intentional message, what specific emotional content are you actually preserving about this era? What story are you telling?
Something to reflect on.
Definitely something to reflect on. We'll let you think on that intentional archiving. Until next time on The Deep Dive.
Yo, all in life intertwined in the beat. Feel it in your soul, every pulse, every heartbeat. Creativity flows, breaks through this life. Keep it moving, cause hard is life. Found my voice, getting dreams from the start. Expressions unleashed, canvas my heart. Blending strokes and pixels, future and past. Art's eternal, long as our passions last. Rapping with the multitudes, dance and paint. Telling stories, making bonds, putting you in sync. Each brush, every beat, the tales to unfold.